In this video, we're going to talk about the most feared weapons of the medieval world. Medieval combat wasn't noble, it wasn't honorable, it was violent, filthy, personal. And the weapons of the Middle Ages were designed to do one thing: destroy the human body as efficiently as possible. Forget the romantic sword fights from Hollywood. Real medieval weapons shattered bones, crushed skulls, ripped flesh, and turned battlefields into butcheries. Today, we're counting down the most horrifying medieval weapons ever forged, from brutal battlefield killers to nightmarish tools of close combat. For 1,000 years, Europe was shaped by war. From knights charging into battle to brutal peasant uprisings, weapons defined power. But not all weapons were created equal. Some inspired awe, others inspired terror. In this video, we're ranking them by one simple standard: fear. Not elegance, not cost, fear. Let's begin. Number 10. The sword. Symbol of power, weapon of last resort. Let's get something straight. Swords may be iconic, but they weren't the most feared weapon on the battlefield. Yes, they were deadly. Yes, they were status symbols, but they were also expensive and slow to produce. Most soldiers never even held one. However, when fear does come into play, it's in close combat. Medieval swords like the arming sword and longsword were razor-sharp, versatile, and brutally effective at stabbing through weak points in armor. Swords didn't win wars, but they settled grudges, duels, and executions. Number 9. The spear. Cheap, efficient, unstoppable. The spear was the most widely used weapon in medieval Europe. It was cheap, simple, and lethal. A single knight on horseback could be brought down by a row of spears leveled in a shield wall. Infantrymen used boar spears, winged spears, and lance-like polearms to fend off cavalry charges. And because spears kept enemies at a distance, they also terrified knights, most of whom preferred close combat. Spears weren't flashy, but they were reliable death. Number 8. The warhammer. The armor breaker. When plate armor appeared in the 14th century, swords and axes began to fail. You can't cut steel with steel, so warriors developed a better answer: the warhammer. Imagine a hammer on one side and a beak-like spike on the other. Crush with one end, pierce armor and skull with the other. The warhammer didn't just kill, it mangled. It didn't care how strong your armor was, it broke you anyway. Number 7. The mace. The church's favorite weapon of pain. Knights used maces when they needed something simple and devastating. With a solid iron head, the mace shattered bones and collapsed helmets. Many were decorated for symbolism, but they were killing tools. Legend says clergy used maces to avoid shedding blood. That's a lie. They simply hid the blood under crushed bone. Number 6. The crossbow. The weapon the church tried to ban. In 1139, the Catholic Church tried to ban the crossbow because it was too deadly. That's how terrifying it was. Unlike bows, anyone could learn to fire a crossbow with deadly accuracy. It could punch through chainmail, even some plate armor. Crossbowmen killed kings. Knights feared them. Infantry loved them. It was medieval Europe's first great equalizer, and the elite hated it. Number 5. The battle axe. The butcher's favorite. Axes weren't just tools, they were brutal weapons. Vikings used massive two-handed Danish axes to cleave shields and men in half. Knights carried smaller axes for horseback combat. Unlike swords, axes didn't rely on sharp edges alone. Their chopping power created pure carnage. A perfect weapon for war and terror. Number 4. The poleaxe. The savage duel weapon. The poleaxe was the knight's weapon of choice in single combat. Why? Because it was designed to destroy armored opponents. With an axe head, hammer spike, and top spike, it was 3 weapons in one. It could hook, crush, split, and stab. Duels with poleaxes didn't last long. They ended in shattered armor and dead men on the ground. Number 3. The English longbow. The night killer. The longbow changed warfare forever. At Crécy and Agincourt, English archers slaughtered wave after wave of French knights before they could even reach the battlefield. A skilled archer could release 12 arrows per minute, each traveling over 150 miles per hour, capable of piercing armor at 200 yards. If you want to see how this weapon actually shaped history, we've got a full video on this channel about the battle where longbowmen changed the warfare. Check that out after this one. The longbow didn't just win battles, it ended the age of the knight. Number 2. The knife and dagger. The most feared bladed weapon of all. Not the sword, not the longbow, not the axe. The most feared medieval weapon was the dagger. War didn't end when armies clashed. It ended on the ground, face to face in the mud and blood. After knights fell from horseback, after shields broke and spears snapped, men finished each other with knives. We have a video diving deep into how knights really used dagger and other weapons, far from the myths. Check out the top right corner. A Balak dagger, the rondel dagger, the basilard. These weren't tools. They were execution devices made to slide through armor gaps and find the soft places of the body, under the arm, through the eye, between the ribs. The sword was for battle. The dagger was for killing. Number 1. Greek fire, the medieval flamethrower. Meet Greek fire, developed by the Byzantines, was liquid flame shot from bronze nozzles. It burned on water, it clung to ships, it spread terror. We still don't know exactly how it was made. Its formula was so secret it was lost forever. But its victims didn't care what it was, they just burned. Imagine a weapon so feared that enemies believed it was magic. That's why it earns the number 1 spot. Honorable mentions. The Morning Star, fearsome spiked mace. The Morning Star combined the crushing power of a mace with the piercing terror of spikes. Each spike could puncture armor, tear flesh, and cause devastating wounds. When swung with full force, it didn't just break bones, it pulverized them. Knights who faced the Morning Star knew that even a glancing blow could end their fight. It was brutal, effective, and absolutely merciless. The billhook, peasant tool turned battlefield terror. Originally a farming tool for cutting hedges and branches, the billhook became a weapon of the common soldier. Its hooked blade could pull knights from horseback, rip through armor straps, and slash with vicious efficiency. In the hands of angry peasants during uprisings, the billhook became a symbol of rebellion. Cheap to make and deadly in close quarters, it proved that you didn't need noble birth to kill a noble. The flail, dangerous, but mostly to the person using it. The flail, a spiked ball attached to a handle by a chain, was unpredictable and wild. It could wrap around shields and strike from unexpected angles, making it nearly impossible to block. But here's the problem. It was just as likely to injure the wielder. One wrong swing and you'd crush your own skull. Despite this, when used by a skilled warrior, the flail was absolutely terrifying. Its chaotic motion made every attack a gamble, for both sides. The Scorpion siege engine, giant medieval crossbow. Imagine a crossbow the size of a cart, powerful enough to fire massive bolts through stone walls and multiple men at once. The Scorpion was a siege weapon that turned defenders into pincushions. Romans perfected it, and medieval armies kept using it because it worked. One bolt could skewer 3 soldiers in a line. Defending a castle, the Scorpion made sure you never felt safe behind your walls. The trebuchet, the medieval nuke launcher. The trebuchet was the ultimate siege weapon, a massive counterweight catapult that could hurl 300-pound stones over 1,000 feet. It didn't just damage walls, it obliterated them. Castles that took decades to build could be reduced to rubble in days. But the psychological warfare was even worse. Armies would launch dead animals, diseased corpses, even the severed heads of captured soldiers over the walls. The trebuchet didn't just break fortifications, it broke spirits. The halberd, the Swiss death stick. Part spear, part axe, part hook. The halberd was the Swiss army knife of medieval murder. Swiss pikemen made this weapon legendary, using it to pull knights off horses, chop through armor, and impale charging cavalry. The halberd's axe blade could split shields and helmets in one swing, while the spike on top could punch straight through plate armor. With a reach of over 6 feet, it kept enemies at bay while delivering devastating strikes. In formation, rows of halberds created an impenetrable wall of death. Kings hired Swiss mercenaries specifically because of their mastery with this weapon. The caltrops, the silent infantry killer. Sometimes the most feared weapons are the simplest. Caltrops were small, spiked metal devices scattered on battlefields and roads. No matter how they landed, one spike always pointed up. Step on one and it would pierce straight through your boot, crippling you instantly. For cavalry, they were catastrophic. A horse stepping on a caltrop would go lame, throwing its rider and creating chaos in charging formations. Armies would scatter thousands of these across fields before battle. You couldn't see them in tall grass or at night. They turned every step into a gamble and slowed advancing armies to a crawl. Cheap, silent, and brutally effective, caltrops were the landmines of the Middle Ages. Conclusion. Medieval warfare was not clean. It was chaotic, savage, intimate, and every weapon told a story not of glory, but of survival. These blades and hammers and bows changed history, not because they were beautiful, but because they were feared. Which weapon terrified you the most? Tell me in the comments. And if you want more brutal truth from the Middle Ages, hit like and subscribe. It fuels the next episode.